All right. We really going all the way East San Jose with this one. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, I like this. This is gonna be a fun one tonight. Absolutely. What's going on, East San Jose, Bay Area, all across the country and all across the world? This is Patrick Hightower. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for those that have sent me comments and messages about looking forward to this podcast dropping. And thank you to all the ones that have shown me love as always. I thought I'd start with a little bit more about myself. And just to let you all know, by the time this gets published, we will know who the Minnesota Timberwolves have drafted. We will know who the Golden State Warriors have drafted. We will know the top 5 NBA draft picks and who is finally being chosen and all that kind of stuff, which I look forward to getting into. But as I said, tonight, I want to start with a little bit of a confession. Don't worry, it's nothing crazy, nothing to roll your eyes or judge me about. I just thought it'd be a lot of fun to let you guys know this about me. So, for those that don't know, once again, my name is Patrick Hightower, and here's my confession. I am a TV sitcom junkie. I am completely addicted to TV sitcoms. Any decade, it doesn't matter. And I'm serious when I say this. It's a shame because all this money that people like myself pay for cable and satellite, and I see why more and more people are cutting the cord, as they say. But I pay all this money for, to watch things on satellite or cable or whatever. And you would swear that my TV and my DVR died in the year 2002. Because for all this money that I pay, most of the time my TV is on an episode of Good Times. I wish there were some way that I can convert what I know from the show of Good Times and turn it into some sort of doctoral thesis paper. It is one of my favorite sitcoms. And the ones that I'm going to let you know about, obviously they don't make these anymore, at the risk of sounding like an old man. But you won't see these type of shows, these type of sitcoms being made anymore. One of my favorite episodes of Good Times was one, I want to say about halfway through their first season. And there was an episode with one of their neighbors who, financially wasn't doing very well. And it's a classic, TV script of someone that they think is eating dog food instead of, regular ground beef or whatever. And then this neighbor, does them a quote unquote favor by cooking them a meatloaf for the Evans family, the main family of Good Times. Nonetheless, that's one of my favorite episodes where they're making all these faces and trying not to eat the meatloaf or the dinner or whatever. And it turns out that this family did not use dog food for their meal. So it was great. It was all kinds of comedy. But one thing that I appreciate about that show and a whole bunch of others, which I'll get to in a moment, was the fact that they weren't, scared to bring up certain issues of race or of classism or of flat out bigotry. And there were a few sitcoms that did this, all of which I love, and I'll get to in a moment. And that just is just the tip of the iceberg with one of my favorite sitcoms of Good Times. My kids even like watching it with me, and that's how I know that they're trying to get away with something when they suck up to me and start sitting down and watching old sitcoms with me. That's how I know they've kind of done something wrong. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Everything about that show was, again, kind of my happy place. Even the moment where one of the actresses of the show, I want to say this is like the beginning of the fourth season, um, kind of an iconic moment of the show, which anyone has ever seen this. I believe this is one of the highest rated episodes, right up there with Seinfeld's last episode, when the leading lady of the show utters these three words. That scene alone, I forget how many records it broke, how many millions of people were documented of watching it, but it was definitely iconic. Again, just one of my favorite shows and one of my confessions. I could even break the show down to how it changed versus when the father was on the show, played by John Amos, versus when he was written off slash killed. But I don't want to waste too much time getting into that. Uh, Another one of my favorite sitcoms, and this may surprise some of you, believe it or not, is All in the Family. Now, with this one, with this show, specifically, I have to just point to one episode where the lead character, I believe his name is Carol O'Connor, plays Archie Bunker. Um, and he is meeting one of his daughter's boyfriends for the first time, and he discovers that this boyfriend is a draft dodger, supposed to go was supposed to go into a war and ended up dodging the draft or whatnot. And this character, Archie Bunker, just loses it. And I don't know if it was planned or if it was just kind of ad libbed. I haven't seen too much behind the scenes or where are they now documentaries that I get into sometimes to find out more about this. But I believe it's one of the, if not the first time, it was one of the first times where the GD phrase of using God's name in vain came onto a sitcom, which I thought was pretty strong. Nonetheless, that show All in the Family has a lot of legacy to it, and for those that were anywhere near a TV in the 60s and 70s, know that spun into the Jeffersons. Also, expressing just as much bigotry and racism and humor and talking about things that 2020 would not be even anywhere near courageous enough to touch in a sitcom. Some of you may disagree with me, but that's just my opinion. Another era of sitcoms that I love, and I call this the era of me having to pretend I was asleep and sneak back into the living room of my house to watch these next couple of shows. And they weren't that crazy of a show, and some of you may not even know this next one. Was a show called Empty Nest, believe it or not. I believe it came on right after the Golden Girls, from what I remember, which I also had to stay awake and pretend I was asleep and sneak out and watch. Love those two shows. But nonetheless, Empty Nest was a show. Main character played a doctor, and he had two older daughters that still lived with him, and I just thought it was the most hilarious thing in the world. And yeah, one of the daughters was a cop, the other was just kind of the didn't have a job and go get a job type of character. It was hilarious to me, but that was one of the first instances where I had to kind of pretend I was asleep and stay up and watch those shows and yada yada yada, all that stuff. There was another show that wasn't as popular that I just loved because it was weird and different. And those that know me know that I have no issues being weird or different. It was a show, and I'm drawing a blank on it right now. At the beginning, there's a big old moose or caribou, and I think they were in a Northern Exposure. That was the name of it. I don't really remember much about the show. I just know that I loved it. I love watching the moose go by at the beginning of the show. It took place in a small town, I believe, and I love that type of stuff. Didn't have a whole lot of humor or goofiness to it, but I just loved it for some reason. It did it for me. And then came the era where I think my parents just gave up on me going to bed early, and they actually started letting me watch a little bit more teenage type of stuff. And for me, that's the In Living Color era, which I'll talk about more in a moment. This show, is iconic. It's generational humor now, meaning a lot of the actors and actresses from the show have children who are now acting. It's definitely a generational show. For me, my favorite parts were, for those that don't remember, one of the actors, Damon Wayans, did a lot of different characters for this sketch show. Everything from a character called Handyman, and then he also played, the homeless man and all that kind of stuff. But and of course, one thing that I really appreciated about that show is one of the actors, Jim Carrey, is still very grateful for his opportunity on that show, because in his eyes, that show In Living Color took a chance on him when no one else did, as far as auditions and things like that. So I thought that was awesome. But one thing I didn't know about that show was how much trouble that the writers of that show, Keenan Ivory Wayans and other writers of the show, how much trouble they were constantly in for, quote unquote, taking it too far or going too far with a joke. And I did some reading on this, and there were a couple of scenes that they got in a lot of trouble for. One, I believe, was during a Super Bowl episode, where two actors on there did these characters, and the skit was called Men on Film. You could look up that on your own, but I guess some of their humor went too far as accusing certain actors of being homosexual or whatever. That show got in a whole lot of trouble that I didn't think would happen back then. I just thought it was hilarious looking back at it now. And again, this is kind of an era where my parents were just like, you know what, whatever. We know you watch this stuff, and they kind of eased off of me a little bit. And then from there came the classic shows of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, battling against Martin Lawrence and his Martin Show. Again, more of my favorites. My favorite moments for the Fresh Prince, Will Smith's sitcom, I guess would have been in the first season, where the character Ashley, who's his little cousin, gets a drum set, and she kind of sneaks away and puts her violin down, and she goes behind her parents' back and starts playing the drums with Will and DJ Jazzy Jeff and everything. And then Will starts dancing in the middle of the little girl playing her drum solo, which I thought was hilarious. I don't know if any of you remember the Running Man challenge from a few years ago. If you look up, there's a whole bunch of videos on this, but if you look up that Running Man challenge, you'll see a clip of Will Smith doing this goofy little Running Man dance, which I thought was hilarious at the time, and I still think it's hilarious whenever I need a good laugh. And as far as, this is probably the 90s era I'm talking now, and as far as all that, when Martin Lawrence and his show came along, where do I even begin? Because anytime Martin Lawrence was playing a different character, whether it be Shanae or Otis the security guard or whatever, I was guaranteed to be falling on the floor laughing. Too many memories for that show to even get into in one sharing here. And especially the episode where he's got where him and his girlfriend Gina go to this, deserted island to kind of get away and have some fun, and they get attacked by this little puppy, which is basically like a remote control squirrel, that Martin Lawrence ends up beating up for like 3 or 4 minutes. It is straight comedy gold. Anyway, just a tidbit of one of my guilty pleasures anyway. And then I'm a lot of fast forwarding, at least in my brain and in my memory, as I think now, because then that leads me to watching Jamie Foxx by the time I finished high school and got to college. And this was a great show for me. Another great actor who did multiple characters, all different types of voices. Everyone's got their own gift, and I wish I had that gift to do multiple voices and all that. And once again, I don't know what it is about show's first 2 seasons, but that's kind of what sticks out to me with the Jamie Foxx show. I think the second or third episode, character who went by the name of Fancy on the show, one of her friends was having a bachelorette party, and Jamie Foxx keeps trying to sneak into their bachelorette party and kind of crash it or whatever, and the girls keep catching him each time, and it is just classic comedy gold. And along those same lines, I may not necessarily be going in order. I'm just kind of sharing some memories and guilty pleasures with you. But uh, along those same lines, when the Wayans brothers came around, everything about this show was comedy gold for me too. Just from the ridiculousness of Sean and Marlon Wayans to the great touch that John Witherspoon, rest in peace, the great touch that he brought to the show, just the right mixture of class and goofiness and everything you could imagine. Um, Another favorite show of mine as well. I even enjoy sitcoms to the point where I can appreciate just the theme music itself. And I want to share a few with you that I think are just incredibly awesome. Once again, just like they don't make good, in my opinion, me sounding like an old man, um, good sitcoms anymore. You could say the same thing about TV sitcom music. And I'm going to play one for you, and you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. With this, when this song came on, it was immediate, get to a TV and not just sit down, but get to a TV and start dancing. And when you heard this particular song, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I mentioned In Living Color earlier, and like I said, when this song came on, rest in peace, Heavy D, who did the rapping in this song. But when this song came on, it just put me in a great mood. And every now and then, I still play this just to kind of cheer myself up. Oh man, I miss Heavy D. But again, that's the musician in me talking. Just the musician in me talking. I definitely miss that feeling of a good theme song. And along those same lines, and believe it or not, some of this theme song music is so good that I'm going to share it with you in order from, and that was just number 10 on my list. Some of you might be thinking, man, that theme song was banging. And if that was number 10, I look forward to seeing what number 1 is. So I'm going to give you a taste again of not only, you already know about some of my favorite sitcoms, but now check this out. I'm going to be giving you sitcom theme music. And again, this is a guilty pleasure of mine, and you're going to see why I'm so passionate about this, especially when you hear this song here that would inspire anybody to get out of their seat and just want to know what's happening next.
To the beat of just one drum, what might be right for you may not be right for some. And he's born, he's a man of means.
Hearing the beat and the melody of this, again, heck if I remember what night it came on, what time slot it was, I have no idea any of that. But hearing melodies like this and hearing choruses like this has made you want to, just get up out of the hood and get adopted by somebody. I don't know. Looking back at this show now, you wonder why maybe a black family could have adopted them, but who knows? I look forward. I like watching, these "Where Are They Now" specials on cast members from different strokes and everything. So again, another one of my favorite theme music songs. And again, man, that song right there, I would just constantly sing on repeat, from the first word to the last. And it was just, once again, one of my favorites. And keep in mind, that's just number 9. This list is going to impress you guys. Trust me on that. Now I'm going to go on to number 8, which everybody and their mother knows, no matter how old, how young, or anything in between. Everyone at one point has tried to memorize this. Now this is a story all about how I'm not going to bother repeating the lyrics or singing along with it because you all know it. Hopefully you're probably dancing in your cars right now just trying to rap along with it.
In West Philadelphia, born and raised on the playground.
Need I say more?
Chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool and all shooting some b-ball outside of the school when a couple of guys who were up
I don't even have to say anything about this. 90s theme song with rap lyrics that you could memorize. I mean, what else can you say about this? Yes, indeed. That theme song was all kinds of bad, and I do mean bad, meaning good. This next one, I don't think too many people know about this next one. Nonetheless, I'm going to introduce you to it anyway. Again, another one. This is the era of theme song music that I call the inspirational, where you hear this music and you want to start making a difference in your life, in someone else's life, in your family's life. These next 3 or 4 songs that I'm going to play for you, it'll just make you want to get up, hug your family a little bit tighter, hug your children, your mother, your father, your grandmother, your grandfather, whoever you've got near you. When you hear these next 3 or 4 theme songs that I'm going to give to you, trust me, it's going to make you wish you were near someone you could just love on a little bit harder. Check this one out. Now, I'll bet a lot of you are stumped on this already.
Now I know what it takes. I'm putting a new piece on the old one, ready for anything. Playing with fate, not a moment too late. Showing the whole world nothing can get me down. Ooh-hoo.
That's right, nothing gets me down. How can you not be inspired by Give Me a Break? Again, hearing the keyboards and hearing the lead vocals and just everything, again, makes you want to inspire your own kids and give them, make you want to find your kids and give them sound advice. Which leads me to this next song. Again, another song that'll make you just want to love on your kids a little bit harder. It'll make you want to call that loved one you haven't heard from in years. It'll make you want to find your children and tell you how much you love them or how much you're proud of them. So check this one out.
Another minute on you crying. We're nowhere near the end. The best is ready to begin.
Now, hopefully people my age, maybe a little younger, maybe a little older, maybe you're starting to get some memories of growing pains coming on your TV. From Kirk Cameron to Alan Thicke, rest in peace, to all these other actors and actresses. Again, that just makes you want to give your whole family a big hug. They don't make these movies. And again, I'm just at the halfway point. I haven't even gotten to the bread and butter of this. Like I said, this is one of my, like I said, my guilty pleasures, my passions. And that was just number 6. Now, this next one, I'm sure you all know, but I'm going to give you a small taste of it anyway. It's right up there with all the other ones, and it'll still make you want to grab your family and give them a group hug and things like that. And I know you all are going to know this one. Some of you may even know it from the first 5 notes.
Whatever happened to predictability? The milkman, the paper boy, evening
Again, talk about generational TV. Not only do my kids know this song, but of course they know the spin-off of this, of Fuller House. So yeah, they now know both versions. Yes, that's how old I am. Full House and Full House. Just to give you a clue on how old I am. Oh yes. Doing my best not to sing. So yeah, Full House, definitely a big part of my childhood. You know, it was one of those shows that my parents even let me watch. So it was a lot of fun. So along those same lines, I am old enough to remember when this next song came on right after Full House. As you see on Facebook and on other social media, I am this old.
It's a rare condition this day and age.
Another inspirational, goosebumpy, tingly, feely TV sitcom theme. You hear this, how can you not want to be at the dinner table with the whole family sitting around, looking forward to another Thanksgiving. All I see is a tower of dreams, real love bursting out of every scene. Come on, you got violin, you got lead guitar, somewhat of a catchy chorus. How can you not want to sit around the table with your family hearing that song? And this next one, I know my listeners are not going to be ready for, because this song here had smooth vocals, smooth instruments, a smooth chorus, you know, just everything all put together in this 1 minute, exactly 1 minute of theme song goodness.
I bet we've been together for a million years.
Again, another one of those ones where you want to hug your spouse or significant other, or your children or whatever.
On the night we kissed, and I can't remember what I ever did before. What would we do, baby, without us?
One cool thing about this theme song that I didn't know was that it was sung by one of my favorite singers, Denise Williams. Well, she sang the version after the first season or whatever. And I thought that the male vocal in that song was Aaron Neville, but I was wrong. The male vocal was actually Johnny Mathis, another male vocal singer that I like. Two others sang it before them, but after the show got picked up after the first season, Johnny Mathis and Denise Williams ended up singing it after that. So a bit of random information from Patrick Hightower. You're welcome. That brings me to the top two. So this next one is one of those shows, as I mentioned, that I had to sneak out of my room and kind of watch. And again, another one of those songs where it's just a short and sweet 1 minute, and the song leaves you wanting more. And all
Thank
that
you
stuff.
for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true.
You've got bass line, you've got piano. You've got a great message to a theme song.
And if you threw a party, he invited
sneak out of my room and back into the living room to try and get the latest on what Blanche was going through, or what Dorothy was up to, or what kind of story Sophia was telling, and yada yada yada, blah blah blah. But again, theme song goodness. That brings me to number one. And if this theme song is not your number one as far as theme songs with lyrics, don't get me started on TV shows with great music without words to them. But if this song is not on your number one list, dare I say something is wrong with you. And here's exactly what I mean.
When school isn't a place you have.
No, that's a commercial. Sorry, I'm producing this myself tonight. If this song
Well, we're moving
is
on
not
now
on your number one list
to the side.
of TV sitcom theme music with words in it, I don't know what to tell you. How can you not want to be moving on up to the east side? I don't care if it's the east side of San Jose, the east side of LA, the east side of Beverly Hills, the east side of New York, the east side of Dallas, Texas. I don't care. How could you not want to be trying a little bit harder to move on up?
Now we're up in the big leagues, getting our turn at bat. As long as we live,
Again, this show, The Jeffersons, was obviously, for those who don't know, a spin-off of All in the Family. But anyway, this show took a lot of bold chances as well with humor, with racial tension, with bigotry, with and I almost forgot, with an interracial marriage, which don't get me started on how bold that was back in the 70s and 80s as far as TV. But again, generational TV. And that song, again, if it is not in your number one list of sitcoms with words to it, then again, I don't know what your problem is. Just saying. So I'm going to end with this. I love TV sitcoms so much that I could even give you, this is a short list, it's going to be 3 quick songs. I could even give you the 3 best TV sitcoms with no words in them. None at all. And again, I appreciate sitcoms of all decades. So this first one that I'm going to play it from my third to my second place one to my first place one. And this one that I'm going to share with you all is, if I remember correctly, I believe this came on Friday nights, if I remember what my grandparents and my parents told me a while back. And back in their day, this was Friday night run to the TV type of sitcom as well as music. Listen to all the busyness and explanations in this song. That is correct. Hopefully you all recognize the themes of Sanford and Son. If I remember correctly, I think Quincy Jones arranged it. And remember, this is just number 3 on the list. This is, again, iconic music here. Very, very iconic. Now, once again, if you're thinking that was number 3 and wondering what in the world 1 and 2 are, you'd be asking a great question, and I'm going to give you the answer to that now. Now, my second place, instrumental, I guess if you want to call it, theme song, has a bit of a twist to it, because this particular show, I think was on for 8 or 9 seasons. I forget off the top of my head, and I don't want to waste time Googling. But when this song came on, again, I want to say it was Monday, but don't quote me on that. I'm getting old and I'm starting to forget stuff. But when this came on, and I think they had like 9 different versions of that theme song, which I thought was awesome. But this version of the Cosby Show, I know Bill Cosby's kind of going through it right now, but this version of the Cosby Show theme song was definitely my favorite. And of course, back then, you know, you had to get up and dance with all the characters at the beginning of the theme song and all that kind of stuff. So, again, that was just another happy place moment for me as far as instrumental sitcom music. But that leads me to the top one. And this is going to blow you away. It's going to shock you. Remember, this is my personality and my opinion, so you can judge all you want. I still don't care. So, again, you're going to hear this music, and I guarantee you, you will be dancing at least for a few seconds. So just listen, and you'll know what I'm talking about. I know right now you're getting up about to play your bass guitar, your air bass guitar. You're getting up and playing your air saxophone. And I'll bet half of you don't even know what this show came from. What show this came from, I should say. Yes, a show called Night Court. I don't remember the year, because like I said, I'm getting old and starting to forget stuff. But this particular show was one of the shows I would try to stay awake for. I do remember it came on, quote unquote, late for a child. I want to say it was around 9 or 9:30 at night. And I would try to stay up just to see what was happening in the show. And I never made it. I would make it to the theme song. I would enjoy my saxophone and my bass guitar or whatever. And by the time the show actually started, I'd probably be asleep because I don't remember a single episode of the show other than the music. Because I think around this point, my eyes would just be drooping and dying down, and I would just be knocked out KO, and my weird self could not stay awake past 9:30, 9:45, whatever. So there you have it. You have a glimpse into my confession of, once again, hi, my name is Patrick Hightower, and I am a TV sitcom junkie. And now you all know that, and I'm sure your world is a better place because of it. You're welcome. Nonetheless, I look forward to talking to you guys again later this week. Again, by the time this drops and publishes, we will know who the Warriors drafted. We will know who all the other NBA teams have drafted. And I look forward to talking about that kind of stuff as well. But again, I'm going to be introducing you to some things about myself that, again, you're either going to consider, wow, he's weird, or hey, I like him even more now, or I love him even more now. So I hope you enjoyed listening to this. I'll talk to you guys later this week, and hope everyone is being safe and having fun out there. Talk to you all later this week. Have a good night.